So in the meantime, some startling numbers are out when it comes to education. 13-year-olds in America getting some of the lowest test scores in decades. According to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, math scores are at their lowest since 1990. Reading is at its lowest since 2004. While performance decreased across all races, Black, Native American, and low-income students saw the biggest drops in math. Joining me now live is Michael Petrelli. He is the president of the Thomas B. Fordham Institute, also a research fellow at Stanford University's Hoover Institution. Michael, thank you so much for being with us. You and I have had this discussion before, but now we're seeing test scores in reading and math fall to their lowest levels for 13-year-olds in more than a decade. Are you surprised by these numbers?
Unfortunately, I'm not surprised by these numbers. We knew that the pandemic was a terrible experience for our young people, academically, socially, emotionally, otherwise. This continues a trend of test scores that we've seen since the pandemic that are just devastating. I think what is somewhat surprising and really concerning is that there's no sign of a bounce back yet. These tests were given last fall. The kids that took these tests have now been back to school for at least a year, in some cases a year and a half, and we're still seeing terrible, terrible results, as you said, especially for the lowest achieving kids, low-income Black, Hispanic students. I think we have to take a hard look at them in the mirror and ask ourselves as a country what we're doing here. I haven't heard a whole lot of talk about this educational crisis that's going on. It is a crisis just as much as the other big issues that people talk about, and we need national leadership, and we need it now.
So you're saying we need national leadership because this is a crisis and that test scores were falling even before the pandemic. What about other countries? How are students faring in other countries right now? Are test scores in reading and math for the same age group similar?
We do see some declines in other countries. I don't think other countries have as much information as we do, but where we've got information, yes, we see declines. I think what we have to keep in mind, though, as you said, was that this started even before the pandemic. We have now seen either flat or declining test scores for at least a decade. So that was way before the pandemic. There's a huge controversy about why that might be. We honestly do not know for sure. It could be an overhang from the Great Recession going way back to then. You think about what happened to the kids when they were little. Could be some school funding cuts that happened back 10 years ago. But again, through most of the 2010s, the economy was improving. Things were getting better as a country, and yet we saw these big declines. I've got to wonder, we've certainly had a conversation recently about teenage mental health, which also started to decline before the pandemic. A lot of people looking at phones and social media as a potential cause of that. Perhaps the phones and social media are to blame here too. We know that teenagers in particular are getting a lot less sleep than they used to. That could have an impact on student achievement. So look, we need an all of society approach here. We've got to make sure our schools are doing everything they can to help kids catch up. But we've also got to make sure that the other institutions in our society, and frankly, us parents, are doing what we need to do to get our kids to bed, off the phones, off the screens, back to the books.
And it makes you question what this is going to do to the future of this country. We were just speaking with our reporter in Washington. We know that lawmakers have been in Washington this week looking at how to regulate artificial intelligence. Michael, how much of an impact do you think that AI is going to have on the future of our children, especially when it comes to finding jobs and pursuing careers?
Yeah, look, it could have a huge impact. I think none of us know for sure, but we all worry that a lot of even good-paying jobs, college-educated jobs, could go away because of AI. But if AI is like other technology, we also know that the students who are best prepared, who have done well in school, who are able to go on and get some sort of higher education, some specialized training, will likely do better. They'll be able to use the AI to augment what they do on the workplace to be even more effective. And the kids without those skills, the young people without those skills, are likely to fall further behind. So, we've got a lot of reasons to get serious about this problem. It's a five-alarm fire. On the one hand, the dropping test scores. On the other hand, challenges like AI coming at us. And we need to do better. We have sent hundreds of billions of dollars to our schools in the wake of the pandemic, understandably, to help kids make it through that crisis and then start to catch up. If that's having an impact, we are not seeing it yet. So I hope every school board in the country, every principal, parents, PTAs, we've all got to put our heads together and say, are we doing enough? At the national level, the answer is clearly no, we're not.
And Michael, I have 30 seconds right here, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the public education system in America right now?
Oh, I mean, I think it's at about a 2. Okay. And that's not because of the people in the system, great people in the system. This system has been fundamentally broken for a long time. It's hard to make change in it. And you look at these results and you say, we are going backwards. And this is new. There was a time, decades in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, when we were making progress, big progress. Now we're going backwards, and we've got to ask ourselves, why is that? We've got to fix it.
All right. Michael Petrelli is the president of the Thomas B. Fordham Institute. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.